Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from the Galilee in Israel on Thursday, April 14th. There's some traces of this in the news. I haven't really gotten it sourced out from a reliable source yet, which means it'll eventually come out or it's bogus. Superstation 95 carried the story, and they're really not so bad. I mean, they don't carry, Obama's a shapeshifter, reptilian stories and stuff like that. So I have a feeling that this could be true. We'll go through this and dissect it. There have been stories, rumors, whatever you want to call it, going back quite a few months from people that have businesses dealing with gold. So there's a bias there. Peter Schiff is one, financial analysts and so forth. And the story is that Russia is going to go to a gold-backed ruble and China's going to go to a gold-backed yuan to destroy the United States. Okay. Russia, I'm not hearing about. I'm just hearing about China. Now, they're saying China is going to announce on April 19th that they're going to a gold-backed yuan. A gold-backed yuan means that's their currency. They also call it a renminbi. It means you're going to be able to go to the government and say, I want to redeem my money for gold. So I believe, or it may not be redeemable. It may just be backed by gold, which means that the Chinese government is going to have a reserve of gold in a vault that will be audited by somebody who they'll deem reliable. Maybe they'll even photograph it. I don't know. That wouldn't mean much. And show everybody that they have the gold. And this will, oh, this will cause a major uproar, not a ripple, a tsunami in the financial markets worldwide, because it'll be the only real currency that has some type of a control on it, in that it's going to be, I'm sure, partially backed by gold, not entirely backed by gold. So it's going to be partial fiat money, but the world has nothing more than total fiat money. If it was going to, I mean, if they were going to make it redeemable, it would be kind of like the same thing as issuing gold coins. And the problem you'd have in today's world with issuing gold coins is people would just hoard them and they'd melt them and make jewelry. Who knows what they would do. The story also says that China will not allow the US dollar to be used to purchase these gold-backed yuans. In other words, you're not going to be able to go to a bank in China and drop $1 million in the bank and say, okay, convert this into gold-backed yuan. They won't do it. So you'd have to put euros or pound sterling or Swiss franc or Hong Kong dollar or something in your account and then say, okay, convert this into yuan. So the first hole in the story is China is going to be accepting other currencies, watered down fiat money, to exchange for a hard or semi-hard currency, the gold-backed yuan. Why would China want to do this? Makes not much sense. But the come around for that is to be, if you want to be a reserve currency, which is what China intends to become, so they say, this is what you got to put up with. Now, I don't think they're going to have like the old Federal Reserve notes where you could redeem your dollar way back when for gold and then later on for silver. I don't think they're going to have a redemption like that. They're just going to say it's back in their vaults. None of us really know how much gold China has. They're not open with it. It's estimated that they have less than the United States, but the United States may have stolen the gold out of Fort Knox. Knowing how they do things, they probably did, but I don't know for sure. Who's going to tell us? Now, we really don't know what is going to happen, and they're using that April 19th date, which is the satanic holiday that they were going to use to put the columns up in New York from the Palmyra Baal Temple. So we really are in the dark. This could just be a rumor. Now, it's got interesting implications about this. If it does go through, and it could, and you know, the central banks around the world, it's been reported by reputable sources or reasonably reputable sources in the last few days that they've been having emergency meetings around the world. Now, this could be related to this. They're trying to come up with some sort of a fiscal policy. I don't know what would. Okay, let's talk about the price of gold. China is an importer of energy products. That means they got to pay for them. And they are an exporter of many, many, many goods, which means people have to pay them. If the yuan is tied to gold or backed by gold, and this causes the price of gold to go up in the world from, let's say, $12.40 or $12.30 to $2,500, let's just say a doubling, right? That would make their yuan go up in value tremendously, and their the price for their exportable goods would make them very expensive. That's why they keep cheapening their currencies, so people will buy their exports, and they pay their people chump wages, you know. So people have gone to China and they've stayed at like a Mandarin hotel that's like $600 a night, and 3-4 feet from the property off on the side there's beggars sitting on the street. China's not too worried about their poverty stuff. I think they're trying to clean it up. I don't know for sure. China has a lot of political problems, a lot of stability problems. China is not a happy, unified, tight-knit country. They happen to have a good military. They got opposition powers in the government. They could have a revolution. They got problems. They're not wrapped up so tight, but they still get by. They don't have any significant Muslim problems at all. They don't have people wanting to push different political agendas against them of any significance. So, you know, it could happen. I mean, they might do it. And if they did do it, the price of gold could go up. We don't know how high. Doubling would be kind of a moderate conservative estimate. To see gold go to $5,000 or $10,000 an ounce wouldn't surprise me. I don't know how long it would stay there, but it wouldn't surprise me. Gold probably should be at $5,000 or $10,000 an ounce. That would probably be more of a realistic value, but they suppress gold. Gold goes up too high. What they do is they start, the governments like the US and the other governments that are mean and rotten, they start selling their gold, okay? And then all of a sudden the prices go down. They push the prices down. Now remember, when you have unlimited or near unlimited amount of fiat money, you can do this. So they push the price of gold down, and then what they do is they buy back their gold that they sold at lower prices, and then they build the price of gold up where they want it, and they still have their reserves. So they don't really lose much money, and sometimes they even gain. Um, and they keep gold at a level where they want gold to be. Right now, it's for the last many months, it's been between the 1100s and the 1200s. They're not letting it. If it gets to where it starts to hit 1300, they just start selling thousands of ounces or tens of thousands until they get the prices to drop down. And when the prices drop down, they keep pushing them to the level they want, then they buy the gold back. And now they're ready to handle the next price increase. They have to let the traders, the brokers of gold on the commodity exchanges and stuff make money, so that you need to have fluctuations of $15, $25 an ounce here and there so people get interested, try to go in and buy and sell and stuff like that. If the price stagnates, say, between 1240 and 1242, you're going to have no traders. People are just going to hoard gold and forget about it, and that's all you're going to have. So they need action to keep the markets going. So they have these fluctuations. They may even go $30, $40 fluctuations. If you're buying 10,000 ounces and you get a good movement for $20 or $30 on per ounce on 10,000 ounces, it's an interesting amount of money to them. So if they do this and the price of gold starts spiking, their currency gets expensive, and then they got a problem with their exports. So why would they do that? Is it possible that they could do this and the price of gold won't spike? I think not, because other countries will come in and try to do the same thing. And that will create more and more demand on gold. And if you got big institutional buyers of gold, not investors, what's a lot of gold for an investor? 1,000 ounces or 2,000, 3,000, something like that, right? But you have people buying tens of thousands of ounces or 100,000 ounces and stuff like that. The governments may have trouble controlling the price level when there's that much of a demand. Uh, if they start lowering the price, then those countries are going to buy even more gold. And eventually the price is going to go back up. Once they stop manipulating the gold because they just can't handle that kind of a volume, then the gold's going to spike up, I would say, between 5,000 and 10,000 an ounce, which is where it belongs. So what you'll see, considering I don't believe you're going to be able to go to China with a bag of yuan notes and say, give me my gold. I don't think that's going to happen. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see how China would do that because their reserves would drain. So what'll happen is that's the bird. For some reason, nobody's downstairs, and he's taken it upon himself to give us a concert with his idiocy. He's trying to entertain himself, I think. Or he hears me talking on the video and decides he wants to be on the video, but I don't think he understands video. Before I started making the video, he was quiet. I thought, oh, I don't like to shut the door in the office because then I can't hear what's going on in the house, and there's Arab workers in the immediate vicinity of the house, and I don't like that. So because there's housing construction immediately adjacent. So if the value of the yuan goes up, it's going to hurt the Chinese export market. It'll help them buying their oil, but that's not going to cut it. Now, the idea was several months ago that Russia would come in with a gold-backed ruble. We know a little bit more about the Russian gold reserves, but we're not crystal clear on what they have. It seems China has massive amounts. Russia, we don't know. So if Russia does it also, and these two countries group together on different projects with a bank, see, they may be in the process of setting their bank up, they will be creating economic warfare against the United States, Great Britain, and the allies of the United States, or we could say those under the United States and under Great Britain. And I think it would provoke a violent reaction, as in all-out war, from Great Britain, the United States, France, and other countries. This, they wouldn't say, well, we're going to war over the gold-backed currency. They'd come up with South China Sea Islands, North Korea, Ukraine, something would be the trigger, not that. And they would go to war. And as I interpret it, they would win the war. The United States, and I'm doing this from the Bible, the United States, I believe, would win this war against China and Russia. It will weaken the United States. And then there is a war in Jeremiah 50:51, but it doesn't appear to be fought by the likes of China or Russia. And I don't find Russia and China in the Bible. The 200 million from the East is, come on, it's not China. That's something else. So I don't, how are you going to have a 200 million man army? You're going to transport them over to Israel. So let's say they put 3,000 guys on a ship. Divide 200 million by 3,000 and see what kind of figure you get. Where are they going to get the ships? Where are they going to get the airplanes? Where are they going to put the people? But come on, guys, it's not a literal army from China, or nor is it from Japan, So I don't see them in the Bible. So I think this could be them hitting their Waterloo when they come up against the U.S. and her allies. And the allies would be South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Australia, United States, probably Canada, Great Britain, France, Germany, NATO per se, all the NATO countries. You'd have Italy in there and Austria and all these guys. With what little they could contribute, they would be contributing. And they would be... that phone call was just to inform me that there's a regular rhythm of bombs going off in Syria. I'm inside the house, and when they're not really large bombs that shake the house, you're not aware of it. This person was outside, actually it was Rivka, was outside and told me they were going off. So I'm in a, kind of a quandary here as to what China and Russia are going to do. China just moved fighter jets to those man-made islands in the South China Sea. Russia just buzzed an American destroyer right off the coast of Russia. They, it wasn't but several, well, from one big city, it was 70 miles, I think, or 70 kilometers, I forget. But from other parts of the coast over there, it was pretty close. Closer than that, like half of that or less. So they took two fighter jets and they had what's called clear wings. So they didn't have any ordnance hanging off the wings. And they were coming close to the American warship. I saw the videos. At one point, the Russian plane did what they were referring to as on the deck. He flew maybe 50 feet or 30 feet over the water off to the side of the ship. And then the other time they flew over, and then there was a helicopter that was photographing the ship. And they're, this is showing me that Putin didn't call Obama on the phone and say, cut this stuff out. They're not communicating clearly, okay? They're not communicating clearly. So they're doing this. Putin is doing it to hurt the morale of the Americans, humiliate them, and the Americans aren't going to. That's the bird. Aren't going to shoot back at the unarmed plane, and that's probably why the helicopter was there. But I mean, there will be a day where they will. Um, so I'm first of all, the rumors with the gold-backed currency being announced next week on the 19th. I'm not getting it from enough sources that I consider are credible. Superstation 95 is okay for a source, but I like to hear it from other sources. I'm just not picking it up. The thing that they have going in their favor is the reserve banks around the world are having a lot of meetings, and this could be what the meeting is. Is this going to collapse the world economies? No, 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 no. Does it have a chance of doing it? No, 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 no. China needs to conduct trade and commerce with people. They need to buy energy. They need to buy other things. They're not about to. They don't have the ability to collapse the world currencies. This isn't going to do it. It's going to encourage people, perhaps like Iran, to get involved with them. Now, Israel happens to be on good terms with China now. I don't know what that'll do for Israel, but they seem to be buddy buddy. The best thing for Israel right now would be hypothetically if they broke every contract with the United Nations, dropped out of the United Nations, and didn't talk to the United States anymore. That would be the best thing. But the United States is the enforcement arm of the Crown of England, and they tell Israel what to do. And there's a lot of deceived, unfortunate people that listen to these guys that sell books and DVDs, and they think that Israel and or the Zionists are running the world, as if there's been Jews in the White House, as if there's been Jews in the royal family of England, as if you have Jewish 4-star and 3-star and 2-star and 1-star generals. I don't know of one in the United States, and they keep thinking this, but it's the facts are absent. They have no knowledge who owns the Federal Reserve Bank. We don't know. They don't know. So what do they come up with? They come up with some banks that are owned by Jews. What about banks that are not owned by Jews? What about the French banks, the German banks, the Swiss banks, the Russian banks, the Hong Kong banks, the Chinese banks? What about all these other banks that Jews don't have anything to do with? What about that? See, they just don't know anything, and they adhere to these things. I had one telling me that Satan started a false Israel. Why would Satan start a false Israel? I don't understand what he would get out of that. You know, and they don't understand anything about the glory of God. The glory of God to them just doesn't exist. If you tell them to read Acts 7:55, they don't get it. And they tell them count, they don't get it. If you tell them to read Ezekiel 43 about the temple, they tell you, well, no, that's a spiritual temple. And, they don't get nothing. You just can't do much with these people, and uh, a lot of them are going to jump on this story because it's exciting to them and it's consistent with their belief systems. I can't imagine any way, shape, or form that a move like this, even if Russia and China did it, would bring the economies down, would cause the stock markets to crash, the commodity markets to crash. So they're going to tell you that corn and orange juice pulp and pork bellies and everything else is going to crash as a result of this. Why? Why? I don't know why they would say that. Um, it's not going to crash. Okay, got a it's got a potential to make gold move. Now, China would have a better interest here if they had gold-backed currency and they were able to plummet the price of gold down to $300 or $400 an ounce again. Now that would be their best move to push the price of gold way the heck down, because they would have a strong currency backed by gold, but it would be still a cheap currency. I don't know if it's possible for them to do that. The way you would get to that level is to keep dumping gold. And if they keep dumping gold, how can they have the backed currency? And they can't. See, so they're in a quandary here if they do this. So they really got to start that brick bank or something. So Russia could do it, they could do it, start the brick bank, and that might be their move. Because the only way they're going to get gold from, what is it, 1240, 1250 down to $300 or $400 would be to sell tons and tons of gold every week, many tons a week, and start shoving it down and put a glut on the market. And I don't see that. I don't see them doing it, because then they're not going to have the gold to back the currency, and then it'll get like it was. I remember in the 70s, everybody was running around wearing gold necklaces, wearing gold this, gold that. I mean, you used to see people wearing 8 or 10 gold necklaces. Some of you don't remember, but I remember they wore tons of gold. They had gold bracelets. Men were wearing gold necklaces. Men were wearing all this gold stuff all over the place. And that's what they did. Um, it just, you know, it's just what it is. Um, that's all that's really all it is. Um, anyway, you got all this stuff going on, and I don't know what to say. My gut feeling is if it is real, it'll come out all across the media in the next couple of days, I think, or we'll get more information about it. And it will probably cause an excitement for gold, and gold will go up. And Russia would probably know that, and Russia would have already done their gold hoarding, and they would be announcing it when they want. And the idea is to make war against the United States economically, and they'll set up one of these brick banks, I think they call it, and it'll be using the gold-backed currency, and people will start banking with them, and they'll refuse to take dollars. So it'll start to cheapen the dollar, and it'll impact the United States negatively, and it'll take over time. The impact will push the value of the dollar lower and lower, and it'll make the United States more uncomfortable buying uh, products from China, because it'll cost more and more. And guys like Obama and Bush and them don't have the brains to deal with a problem like this. Trump would, but it looks very dubious if you're going to see Trump get the GOP. The latest thing I heard was a New Jersey judge. I can't remember if it was a federal judge or a local judge. I don't remember what kind of a judge he was, federal or local, ruled that Ted Cruz was a natural born citizen and can participate in the primary over there. Now, that's just a rigged job. It's plain as day that Cruz was born a Canadian, And to say he's a natural born citizen is a joke. So the United States is a joke, okay, for this to happen. And Trump is trying to make the United States not a joke. Foreign countries know the United States is a joke and take advantage. And Trump is trying to make it not a joke and is having trouble, okay? And they want to get rid of Trump because they're pirating the United States. They're like selling it as spare parts. You know, when the USSR fell apart, the generals and the mucky mucks were selling the tanks, the missiles, the guns, everything they had, and pocketing the money. It was the Wild West over there. I remember doing business with guys in the USSR many years ago, and when it reformed. And I remember, you know, one story: a guy went to buy gas, and he had a diesel car, and he went to put the gas in, and he pumped regular gas out of the diesel tank, and his car was all screwed up, and he had to pay a lot of money to fix it and everything else. And he said that's the problem when you live in the Wild West. There's no controls over anything. So we had, you know, you have this going on. It's just, you know, we'll have to see. But I just did the story, look at it. So far, it looks like it could be a rumor that's just getting started. It looks like it could die on the vine, or it looks like it could be real. I'm not sure. But it's worth covering. It's not going to cause any financial collapses around the world. It'll probably trigger a war because there's no gold-backed currencies. And the United States and the Crown of England apparently don't want them. The last one to go was the Swiss, and that was many years ago. And if they try to put it back, they're going to come under the wrath. And I think that'll be the war. That will trigger the war. Not buzzing, not airplanes buzzing boats or putting missiles on man-made islands and claiming this is your rights. It's coming close. It's coming close. But this'll probably do it. My opinion. Okay, we got a prayer request for EV. We got a prayer request. I think that's just one prayer request for Echo Victor. Echo Victor, EV. Pray for strength for this person, for the salvation for the family. And there's a situation with a niece rebelling against the mother, and that needs resolution for EV. So one more time, for strength, for EV family salvation, and there's a niece that's rebelling and not cooperating with the mother that needs prayer. Please pray for me and Rivka for peace and joy and strength and healing. And my neck seems to be getting better, but it probably needs more prayer. My neck and back are pretty tight. And appreciate the prayer and for our healing and walking through the bureaucracy. And pray for a different government in Israel that will allow you guys to come live here. This is needed. You can't have end times Israel progress forward with a democracy. It's near impossible, I think. You gotta have a different form of government. So pray for that and the peace of Yerushalayim, and that we get revelations. And that's what I have. Moshe out.